Let's go back to Visual Studio for another demo and take a look at the functionality coming from the account module. So let us now take a look, before we look at the code, at the running application again, so that you have a clear idea of what we are looking at. When I go to localhost 4200, it will redirect me to account/login, and then I arrive on this login page. Here I can of course log in, we've already seen that, and next to logging in, I can also go from here and create a new account. So I'll then go to account register. Here I can enter my details, prove that I'm not a robot, and then I can submit, and then I have a new account in the website. Let's take a look at the components for this functionality. So I am here in Visual Studio Code, and under source, we can expand this and we'll see account. Under the account module, which is like a main module, we have a couple of other sub-modules that have to do with login, the registration, and other ones that I haven't shown you here, which is email activation, payment, and password reset. Now, under account, we'll also find the code that handles the entire account module. First, we have the account component. That's basically the root component for the entire account module. In the account routing module, we'll find the routes that are defined for the account module. Here you see the different routes, and those were the ones that we were hitting, login and register, and they were loading the corresponding component, one of the components in the submodules. Then we have the account component HTML. Now this one is actually pretty empty. It doesn't do an awful lot, but it does have the router outlet over here. And the router outlet is basically the placeholder for the real component that we are going to load in. And the actual content is of course loaded via the account routing module, which points to the corresponding component that will be loaded in. Let's take a look at one of these submodules here. So in the login, we have the login component itself, which is the functionality for all that has to do with the login screen that we just saw. In here, we are using the login service. The login service will contain the actual functionality to perform the communication with the backend. This, of course, contains the actual authentication logic that will then communicate with our API. Next to the component, we of course have the login component HTML, so the template, and that contains of course the HTML code for the login page. It will use bindings here to capture the values entered in the UI for the email address or username, password, remember me, and so on. Now, all the other components, I'm not going to show you them in here in detail. They are pretty much the same, but I do recommend that you explore this code at your own pace.